Welcome back to Step Closer. Today we're reading the second story, Dance With Me, which, is a nice, fun, happy title, so I'm sure nothing could possibly go wrong. The stars looked like tiny pinpricks of light shining through a sheet of black velvet. Casey lay on her back on a low stone wall, staring up at the sky, feeling wonder at being even a small part of such a beautiful universe. She remembered a nursery rhyme from when she was little. There had been a coloring sheet in kindergarten with the nursery rhyme's words and a picture of smiling stars. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, she thought. How I wonder what I am. Casey, Jack's voice startled her out of her trance. Look over here. Casey sat up and looked at the brightly lit kiddie restaurant across the street, Circus Baby's Pizza World. A woman and two young children were standing outside its red door. The woman was fumbling with her purse. Let's go, Jack whispered. Casey stood up and casually crossed the street with Jack, ducking into the alley next to Circus Baby's, close enough that she could hear the little girl chattering to her mother. I think Circus Baby is pretty, the little brown-haired girl said. She was wearing a t-shirt decorated with Circus Baby's Pizza World's creepy-looking mascots. She is pretty, the mother said, looking a little dazed, probably because she had spent too much time surrounded by the bright lights and loud noises of the Kitty's Pizzeria emporium. Can I wear pigtails like Circus Baby, the little girl asked, pulling 2 handfuls of her hair up into bunches. She couldn't be much older than 3, Casey thought. 4 at the oldest. Sure you can, the mother said. Hold your brother's hand while I find my car keys. Her hands are all sticky from candy, the boy complained. He was early elementary school age, maybe 7. Mommy, I'm so sleepy, the little girl said. Can you carry my goodie bag? She held up a little plastic bag with the name of the restaurant imprinted on it. The mother had found her keys. Sure, she said. I'll just put it in my purse. Can you carry me? I'm too sleepy to walk. The mother smiled. Okay, come here, big girl. Her purse dangled from her left forearm while she leaned over to pick up her daughter. Now, Jack barked into Casey's ear. Casey pulled the ski mask over her face and dashed out from her hiding place in the alley. She ran past the mother and grabbed her purse with a swift, sure motion. She kept running as the woman yelled, Hey! And the little girl screamed. As Casey ran, she heard the little boy said, I'll catch the bad guy, Mommy. No, the mother said firmly, you stay here. If they said anything else, Casey didn't stick around to hear it. Casey knew she was fast, and she knew there was no way the mother could catch her on foot, not with 2 little kids in her hands. After Casey had put some distance between herself and the crime scene, she took off the ski mask and stuck it in her jacket pocket. She slowed to a walk and carried the purse casually as if it belonged to her. And now, she supposed, it did. She met the guys back at home, or at what passed for home. Casey and Jack and AJ stayed in an abandoned warehouse. There was no electricity. They had to make do with flashlights and camping lanterns. But there was a good roof, and the building was well insulated, which made it warmer than being outside. They slept in sleeping bags and heated food on a little 2-burner cook stove, the kind people used on camping trips. Actually, living in the warehouse was a kind of indoor camping. That was one way to see it, Casey thought. She sat in one of the wooden crates that they used as chairs, holding the stolen purse in her lap. How much did we get? Jack asked, looking over her shoulder. He was sharp-nosed and twitchy, like a rat. I like how you say we, even though it was me who took all the risks, Casey said, unzipping the purse. That's the code of the thieves' den, AJ said, sitting on the crate next to her. He was big and bulky, the muscle of the group. We share everything. Yeah, Jack said. It's like how coaches say there's no I in team. Except there's no I in thief. Yeah, but actually there is an I in thief, Casey said, laughing. She pushed her long braids out of her face, and peeked inside the purse. The first thing she pulled out was the little girl's goodie bag. No wonder the kid had screamed. She didn't want to lose all the candy and plastic junk she won at the pizza place. Casey stuffed the goodie bag in her jacket pocket, and then found what they were all waiting for. The woman's wallet. How much? Jack said. He was trembling with anticipation. Hold your horses, Casey said, unfolding the wallet and taking out all the bills. She counted. Looks like $87. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. People hardly ever carried cash anymore. What about cards? AJ asked. I'm looking. She glanced briefly at the woman's driver's license, then looked away. She always felt bad when she thought of the victim as having a face and a name, of them having to wait in line at the DMV for a new license. She pulled out the plastic cards. 1 gas credit card and 1 general credit card. The gas card was of limited use since they didn't have a car. Still, they could use it in a gas station food mart, and they could definitely get some use out of the general credit card before they had to ditch it. Casey badly needed some socks and a new pair of boots. The ones she was wearing were battered and held together with duct tape, so her feet hurt all the time. "We'll try out the cards tomorrow," Jack said. "In the meantime, $87 split 3 ways is—" He made a big show of doing the math. "$29 each." "I'll take 20 of that now, Miss Casey. I'm gonna go out and see how much a person can party on $20. You two coming with me?" "I will," AJ said. "Give me a 22, Casey." He held out his hand. "I think I'll stay here," Casey said. She wasn't a partier like Jack and AJ. Her mother had partied a lot, and Casey had grown up knowing that her mom's tendency to blow through all her money in one carefree night meant they had to live with consequences until her next paycheck. "Why?" Jack asked. "That's no fun." "I'm tired." Casey put the wallet back into the stolen purse. "I was the one who did all the running, remember?" After the guys had gone out, Casey lay on top of her sleeping bag and dug through the plastic sack from Circus Baby's Pizza World. She pulled out a pair of cardboard glasses with flimsy plastic lenses. The cardboard was decorated with a picture of some kind of weird robot ballerina. Casey put the glasses on briefly, but they made her feel strangely dizzy, and if there was something she was supposed to be seeing, it was too dark to see it. She put them in her jacket pocket for later. Everything else in the bag was candy. Casey and her fellow thieves had to eat to survive. They had cheap fast food burgers when they had a little money, canned beef stew or ravioli shoplifted from convenience stores when they were broke. It had been a long time since Casey had eaten a piece of candy. She found a red lollipop, unwrapped it, and popped it into her mouth, enjoying the sweet artificial cherry flavor and feeling like a little kid again. A little kid. She had robbed a little kid. A saying came into Casey's head, like taking candy from a baby. That's literally what she had done today. She wasn't proud of it, but at the same time, the kid's mom had nice shoes and a nice purse and a car. If she had enough money to take her kids out for pizza and arcade games, she could afford to buy her kids more candy. Why had Casey turned out the way she had, not like the woman she'd robbed? Casey hadn't planned to be a thief who slept in a warehouse. She doubted those were anybody's career goals. Casey's mom hadn't been crazy about being a mom. She worked nights and slept days, and often, when Casey came home from school, her mom looked at her with a mixture of surprise and annoyance, as if she were thinking, "Oh, I forgot, I have a kid, don't I?" Dinner was usually a bowl of cereal or a sandwich before her mom went out to work at the club. While her mom was gone, Casey did her homework, took a shower, and watched TV until bedtime. She had instructions to go to the old lady next door if there was ever an emergency, but there never was. Casey was good at taking care of herself. When Casey was a teenager, her mom got a new boyfriend who seemed like he was going to stick around longer than her past string of boyfriends. He had a steady job and could help her mom out with money. The only drawback was that he didn't want a teenager around freeloading, as he called it. He said he had moved out of his parents' house and gotten a job by the time he was Casey's age, and that was why he was so successful. When he asked her mom to choose between him and Casey, she didn't think twice about the choice. Casey was out on the street before her 17th birthday. Casey's teachers had begged her not to drop out of high school. Her grades were solid and she was an athlete, so there was the possibility of college scholarships, they said. But she couldn't stay in school and still earn enough money to survive. She dropped out and drifted from one dead-end job to another, working long hours but never making enough to cover rent and groceries. Sometimes she stayed in little sad rooms she rented by the week. Other times she camped out on friends' couches until their hospitality ran out. The first time she stole was at Famous Fried Chicken, the fast food restaurant where she was working. It was a terrible job. She stood sweating over the deep fryer for hours, and every night she went home feeling like she'd been dipped in a vat of grease. One day when she was sweeping the floor of the dining area, she noticed that some guy had gone to the restroom and left his jacket hanging on the back of his seat. The corner of a $20 bill was peeking out of the pocket. It was too tempting. Sweeping the floor right next to the table, Casey pinched the bill and hid it in her sleeve. It was shockingly easy and somehow exhilarating. She knew the guy would never suspect theft. He'd just think that he should be more careful. Making minimum wage, standing over the hot fryers, it would have taken Casey more than 2 hours to earn the money that it took her less than a minute to steal. There was a thrill in that, to know you had gotten away with something, beaten the system. Soon she was stealing instead of working, snatching purses, picking pockets, shoplifting food, and other necessities. One day she was at a street festival, lifting wallets and loose bills from people's pockets, when two men approached her. At first she was scared they might be the cops, but they didn't look like cops. One was a scrawny, fidgety white guy with lots of tattoos. The other was a broad-shouldered black guy with the appearance of a former high school football player. "We've been watching you, and you're good," the thin, nervous-seeming one said. "Have you ever thought of working with a team instead of flying solo?" "We look out for each other," the big guy said. "And we split our take. More people working, more money." She fell in with Jack and AJ because they had been on the streets longer than she had, and they were willing to share their knowledge of how to survive. Sure, they were more reckless than she was, and blew through all the money they stole, but there was safety in numbers. Even though the guys got on their nerves sometimes, she would rather have their companionship than try to make it on her own. Casey finished the red lollipop and snuggled into her sleeping bag. She fell asleep with the sweet taste still on her tongue. She woke to sunlight streaming through the warehouse's skylights. Jack and AJ were both still snoozing away in their sleeping bags. Casey had no idea what time they had come in last night. She slithered out of her sleeping bag and decided she'd use $2 from yesterday's take to buy a cheap breakfast at the Burger Barn. A sausage biscuit and a small coffee with free refills could last her all day if it had to. Casey grabbed her backpack and walked into the bright morning sun. The Burger Barn was just half a block from Circus Baby's Pizza World, the site of yesterday's heist. Casey chuckled, thinking of it as something as dramatic as a heist, since it involved stealing a bag of candy from a child. She went inside the Burger Barn, placed her order, then sat down at an orange vinyl booth beneath the mural of cartoonish barnyard animals. She added cream and sugar to her coffee, unwrapped her biscuit, and took her time with breakfast. As she nibbled her breakfast and sipped her coffee, she watched the other customers. Most of them were grabbing orders to go as they rushed off to their jobs at offices or stores or construction sites. They all looked stressed out and in a hurry. That was one good thing about Casey's life. She could take her time. The only time she had to hurry was when she was running off with somebody's purse or wallet. Buying breakfast at the Burger Barn gave her the right to use the ladies' room without being kicked out. That was a right she treasured. After she finished her meal, she made her way to the restroom to do her grooming for the day. She locked herself in a stall and took a sort of sponge bath with baby wipes, then changed her socks, underwear, and shirt. After she was done in the stall, she went to the sink and washed her face and brushed her teeth. A woman dressed in the button-down shirt and khakis of an office job gave Casey a dirty look, but Casey ignored her. She had as much a right to be there as anyone else. Casey filled her water bottle and put it in her backpack. She was ready for her day. Out in the sunshine, her belly full of food and coffee, Casey felt good. She thought she might take a walk in the park before she went back to the warehouse to see what the boys were up to. As she walked, she shoved her hands in her jacket pockets and felt the cardboard glasses from the little girl's goodie bag. She smiled to herself and took them out. She hadn't noticed that a tiny slip of rolled-up paper was taped to the glasses' left earpiece. She peeled the tape off carefully, unrolled the slip of paper, and read, "Put on the glasses and Ballora will dance for you." Casey put on the glasses and felt the same dizziness as the night before. She looked down the sidewalk towards Circus Baby's Pizza World. There, in the distance, she saw the image of a ballerina, her hands above her head, standing on tiptoe and spinning. It wasn't a very sharp image, blue and a little fuzzy, a hologram. That was what these kinds of pictures were called, she suddenly remembered. But even if it was distant and blurry, there was something fascinating about the strange doll twirling. Casey had wanted to be a ballerina, just like lots of little girls. But there had been no money, and her mother had said that even if there was money, she wouldn't waste it on something as useless as dance classes. Casey stood on the sidewalk and watched the image as though hypnotized. It was so beautiful, and there was so little beauty in Casey's day-to-day life. Casey felt overcome with sadness and longing and another feeling too. Regrets? Was she regretting the way she lived? A life should have beauty in it, shouldn't it? Life should be more about just survival. After a while, Casey started to feel dizzy, as if she were the one doing the dance herself. Afraid she might be sick, she took off the glasses and leaned against the side of a building to get her bearings. She looked down at the pair of glasses in her hand. Really, the ballerina was a pretty impressive visual effect for what looked like such a cheap toy. No wonder the little girl was upset when Casey snatched her goodie bag. To a little kid, these glasses would seem downright magical. Casey put the glasses in her pocket. She decided to skip the park and go back to the warehouse. She had to show the guys this crazy toy. Jack and AJ were just waking up when she got back. "What time did you guys get in last night?" Casey asked, sitting down on a crate. "I don't know, 2, 3, Jack yawned. He propped up on one elbow in his sleeping bag. "Doesn't matter, I don't have time to punch anybody's time card." AJ unzipped his sleeping bag and sat up cross-legged on the floor. "Hey, we were just saying we might take that gas card you pinched up in the gas and go and see if we can use it to get some groceries." "Sure," Casey said. "It would be good to have some food in the house. But first I want to show you something." Outside the warehouse, beside a dumpster, Casey took out the glasses. These were in the goodie bag from that pizza place. "Try them on." She held the glasses out to Jack. Jack put them on, struck a cool pose, then laughed. "Look in front of you," Casey said. "Do you see her?" "See who?" Jack said. "The dancing ballerina." "I don't see anybody," Jack said. "They just make everything look blue, that's all." "Let me see him," AJ said, taking the glasses from Jack and putting them on. He looked around. "I don't see anything either." "No ballerina?" Casey said. It didn't make sense. Why could they not see her? "Nope, everything just looks blue, like Jack said." AJ handed the glasses back to Casey. Casey was confused. Maybe the glasses only worked in front of Circus Baby's Pizza World? But that didn't make sense either. Why would someone make a toy that only worked in one place? She put on the glasses and looked straight in front of her across the street. The ballerina, Ballora, according to the instructions, was there, dancing in a garbage-strewn alley between two warehouses. But soon the dizziness overcame her, and again there was that uneasy feeling she'd had before. "Well, I see her," Casey said, taking off the glasses before she lost her balance or threw up. "Maybe there's something wrong with your eyes." "Maybe there's something wrong with your brain," Jack said, laughing and elbowing AJ, who laughed too. Casey ignored his ribbing and put the glasses back in her jacket pocket. But she did wonder. Were they right? Was there something wrong with her? At the Gas and Go, they grabbed way more food than most people would buy in a convenience store. A jumbo loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, 6 bags of chips, cans of ravioli and beef stew, and a 12-pack of soda. Casey knew she would be the one to pay at the register because Jack and AJ always said she had an honest face. Also, people were less likely to suspect a woman of criminal activity. Casey didn't mind. The cashier looked sleepy-eyed and bored as she rang up and bagged all the items. Casey scanned the stolen card in the machine and held her breath. It took only a few seconds, but it felt like ages until the word "approved" appeared on the screen. Casey, Jack, and AJ grabbed the bags and waited until they were outside the store to laugh at their good fortune. "Well, we won't have to worry about food for a few days," Jack said. "Hang on to that card, Casey." Casey put the card in a small compartment in her backpack. "I will, but I don't know if we'll be able to get by with using it again," she said. Usually credit card companies were pretty quick to cancel cards they suspected were stolen. Back at the warehouse, they feasted on peanut butter sandwiches and potato chips and soda that was still cold from the convenience store's cooler. Jack and AJ were still high from the adrenaline rush of successfully using the stolen card. They laughed and joked around, but something was bothering Casey that she couldn't quite put her finger on. She smiled at Jack and AJ's jokes, but something that felt like worry was nagging at the back of her brain. The weird thing was that while she felt it, she didn't really know what she was worried about. There was always the thief's worry of being caught, the worry of being arrested, tried, jailed. The worry never went away, but this feeling was something else. Somehow it had to do with the glasses, with the fact that she could see the dancing ballerina while Jack and AJ couldn't, with the strange way looking at the twirling ballerina made her feel. After they were finished eating, Casey grabbed one of the plastic bags from the convenience store. "Put your trash in here," she said to Jack and AJ. "I'll take it to the dumpster." "Always cleaning up after everybody. Such the little housewife," Jack said, dropping his empty soda bottle in the bag. "Hey, I can't help it if you guys are slobs," Casey said. "I don't want to get a bug problem in here." Casey had grown up in a series of progressively dumpier apartments. Her mom would get evicted for not paying the rent, and then they'd move to another place that was smaller and dirtier than the one before it. There were always cockroaches, and in the summer, an endless parade of ants. When Casey got old enough, she washed the dishes and took out the garbage that her mom let pile up. Cleaning helped some, but bugs would still come over from other people's apartments. Like party crashers looking for free food and drink. Casey always thought that when she grew up, she would have a neat little apartment of her own that would be clean and bug-free. Unlike her mom, she would pay the rent on time every month. The warehouse wasn't exactly what she'd had in mind. but at least she could do her part to keep the bugs away. She took the trash bag outside and tossed it in the dumpster. Maybe she would take a walk. She felt a sudden need to be alone. She knew that, inside the warehouse, Jack and AJ would be making plans for the night. Since it was Friday, they'd probably want to go downtown to where the clubs were. If you waited late enough until people had been partying for hours, it was easy pickings. Casey could walk past a cluster of guys and lift 3 of their wallets without any of them noticing. Purses were always trickier because you couldn't grab them without the owner noticing. But Casey was fast. She had been in track and field before she dropped out of high school. There was no way a tipsy girl in heels could catch her. Usually Casey liked to plan out the evening's job with the guys. She liked to strategize how to come up with the biggest take possible, how to maximize their chances of success. It was like solving a puzzle. But right now, she didn't feel like putting the puzzle pieces together. She felt like walking, like clearing her head of the confusing thoughts swirling around inside of it. Swirling. Swirling rhymed with twirling. Why couldn't she get that spinning ballerina doll out of her head? She walked to the park. Office workers on their lunch break sat on benches and ate sandwiches. A dog walker was somehow walking 4 dogs of different sizes without getting their leashes tangled. Casey smiled at the tiny Yorkie that was leading the pack as if it was the biggest dog of all. On the playground, little kids climbed and slid and swung, shouting and laughing. Their moms watched them, making sure they were safe. Casey envied those kids. What must it be like, she wondered, to play to your heart's content, and to know that whenever you get hungry or thirsty, your mom would just pull some crackers and a cold juice box out of her bag. To know that when you were tired, you could go home and your mom would tuck you into your nice soft bed for a nap. Even as a little kid, Casey had never known that kind of security. She walked into the more wooded area of the park because she liked the shade and the solitude. The fall leaves, red, gold, and orange, were drifting down from the branches of the trees. Leaves that had already fallen crunched under her feet. It was the strangest thing. She didn't want to see Ballora. She didn't like the way seeing Ballora made her feel. Yet she felt herself reaching for the cardboard glasses, felt herself putting them on. She felt the familiar dizziness, steadied herself against a tree, and stared into the woods in front of her, where sunlight sparkled through the gaps in the branches. There was Ballora, dancing among the colorful fall leaves. As she spun, the bright leaves were sucked into her vortex. They flew around her, at first gently, then faster, as though trapped in a whirlwind. For a few seconds, Casey admired the beauty, but then she thought, wait, if Ballora is just a picture, a hologram, then how is she affecting the objects around her? It didn't make sense. Also, wasn't Ballora closer to Casey than she was yesterday? It seemed like she was. The image was clearer, for one thing, not so fuzzy. She could see the joints in the doll-like figure's arms and legs, could see the blue eyes and lips on the white face. The painted face looked clown-like, but unlike most clowns, Ballora wasn't smiling. The empty blue eyes didn't blink, but somehow Casey felt like they were staring back at her. Ballora was looking at Casey and didn't like what she saw. Suddenly Casey couldn't catch her breath. She doubled over, afraid she might pass out. Why was she freaking out over a stupid toy? She yanked off the glasses and shoved them back into her jacket pocket. She was being ridiculous, and she had to stop it. If you wanted to survive, you had to keep a cool head at all times. She should go back to the warehouse and talk to the guys. She needed to know the plans for tonight. After midnight, Casey, Jack, and AJ hit the clubs. They didn't go into them, but skulked in the darkness outside. The guys had targeted a couple of different bars, and Casey was waiting in the alley outside a dance club that was frequented by a lot of college kids, their pockets and purses fat with their mommy and daddy's money. She spotted her target. The girl was wearing a short, light pink dress with impossibly high pink heels. Her designer purse, the same shade of pink as the dress and shoes, hung from a skinny strap draped over her shoulder. Pink dress girl was talking loudly and giggling with her boyfriend. Casey had a tool for jobs like these, a pair of strong scissors that could cut through a leather purse strap like it was only made of paper. She took out the scissors and stepped into the crowd. She slipped in behind Pink Dress Girl and positioned the scissors to cut the strap. As she snipped, someone bumped into her from behind. She slipped, and the point of the sharp scissors found flesh. When Casey grabbed the purse, she saw a shallow but bloody gash in the girl's arm. "Ow, what happened?" the girl yelled. "Hey, my purse!" Casey ran. She ran until she was sure she had put enough distance between her and her victim, then slowed to a casual walk, tucking the pink evening bag inside her jacket. In her mind, Casey kept seeing the girl's arm slashed by the scissors, the red blood vivid against the girl's pale skin. Casey hadn't meant to hurt her. Sure, getting your purse snatched might scare you a little, it might inconvenience you, but it didn't cause any physical harm. Casey had robbed dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, but she had never harmed anyone physically until tonight. Spilling blood changed things. It was an accident, Casey thought, but was it really? The girl wouldn't have gotten caught if Casey hadn't been lunging at her with the scissors. Casey hadn't meant to cut her, but she couldn't exactly claim to be innocent. Casey beat the other guys back to the warehouse. She grabbed a flashlight and sat down on her sleeping bag to see what she'd scored. She opened the pink purse and dumped out its contents. A driver's license, lipstick, and a single $20 bill, which, according to Thieves' Den rules, would have to be split 3 ways. Casey put the items back into the purse and sighed. It hadn't been worth the effort or the bloodshed. She settled down in her sleeping bag, but it was a long time until she fell asleep. The next day, Casey and Jack and AJ walked downtown, casing possible places for a job. They walked past the park where Casey had seen Ballora. Casey glanced at a grove of trees and saw the leaves rise and twirl, just like they had around the doll. She put on her glasses, and there Ballora was, closer than before. She was getting closer every day. If Casey could just get the guys to see the doll, she would feel a lot better. Casey took off the glasses and hurried to catch up with Jack and AJ. "Wait, you guys," Casey said. She held up the glasses. "Put those on and look over there, right in the middle of those trees." "Again?" AJ said. "Not me. I love you like a sister, Casey, but I'm done with the weirdness." Jack rolled his eyes, but said, "All right, give 'em here." He put them on and looked where Casey was pointing. Nothing. Nothing? Casey's heart sank. "Zilch, zip, nada," Jack said. "The way I see it, there are 2 solutions to this problem. One is locking you up in a soft room, and the other is this." He dropped the glasses in a nearby trash can. "There, problem solved, okay?" Casey felt a wave of relief wash over her. Jack was right. No glasses, no problem. Okay. She even felt herself smiling a little. "Thanks, Jack." "You're welcome," Jack said. "Now you need to pull it together. The Thieves' Den needs your quick wits and nimble fingers. No more freaking out over weird stuff." Casey nodded. She couldn't believe she'd let herself fall apart because of a cheap toy. "Quick wits and nimble fingers. You've got 'em," Casey said, waggling her fingers. "Why don't we take the bus to the Allmart and see if we can get that lady's credit card to work?" "Excellent idea," Jack said. "See, you're better already." The guys headed on toward the bus stop, but Casey hesitated. The glasses were what made her see Ballora. Being rid of them, she wouldn't see Ballora. But that didn't mean Ballora wouldn't be there. She would still be following Casey, getting closer to her every day. But Casey wouldn't have any idea of knowing where she was. The thought of an invisible Ballora was scarier than the thought of a visible one. Casey reached into the trash can, retrieved the glasses, and put them back in her pocket before she ran to the bus stop. At the big box store, Casey picked up a new pair of boots, heavy, comfortable, and practical. They all grabbed packages of socks and underwear and t-shirts. Buying too much stuff would arouse suspicion, so they tried to limit themselves to the things they needed the most. As always, Casey was the one to make the purchase because of her honest face. Her face didn't matter much, though, because the cashier rang up the items without looking at her, then asked robotically, "Debit, credit, or cash?" "Credit," Casey said, holding out the stolen card. The woman scanned the card in the machine, frowned, and tried it again. "I'm sorry, ma'am, this card's been declined. Do you have another card you'd like to use today?" "No, thank you." Casey grabbed the useless card, abandoned her attempted purchases, and walked quickly to the front door where Jack and AJ were waiting. "Declined," she said. "Well, that sucks," Jack said, as they walked out the door. AJ shook his head. "The lady must have reported it stolen. Too bad. I was kind of looking forward to my new socks and undies." "Only one thing to do," Casey said. She took out her big scissors, cut the card into tiny pieces, and scattered the confetti in the nearest trash can. On the way back to the warehouse, they passed the park. Casey heard the rustling of leaves and glanced over to see them swirling, but that didn't mean Ballora was there, she told herself. She clenched her hands into fists to stop herself from getting the glasses out of her pocket. The swirling leaves meant only that it was a windy fall day. That was all. tonight's job had to make up for the run of bad luck. They sat huddled in the warehouse eating canned ravioli with their hands, and trying to figure out their next move. "We could try the pizza place again," Jack said. "People do take cash to those places." "No." Casey's response was automatic and forceful. "Why not?" Jack said. "Afraid you might end up with some scary possessed toy?" "It's not that," Casey said. She probably deserved the mockery. She had let the thing with the glasses get out of control. "I just don't like to get kids involved, okay?" "We've not done the train station in a while," AJ said. "It's real easy to mix in with the crowd there and pick some pockets. It might be a good way to get your confidence back, Casey." "Yeah, let's do that," Casey said. That was what she needed. An easy job. They didn't even have to go inside the station, just wait until rush hour when a bunch of people came spilling out of the station's exit, then slip into the crowd unseen. Casey eased her way into the mass of people, scoping for prosperous-looking businessmen with wallet-shaped bulges in their back pockets. She had just found one and was reaching for it when someone grabbed her arm. She startled, then saw it was Jack. He mouthed the words, "Let's go." When she saw the flashing blue lights, she understood. A police car had pulled up to the curb. Casey and AJ and Jack walked with the crowd, nice and casual, like they had just gotten off the train themselves. Casey didn't breathe easy until the blue light was way behind them. "Could this day have gotten any worse?" Jack said, once they were back in the warehouse. "Bad luck always comes in threes," AJ said, holding up 3 fingers. "So we've got 2 down and 1 to go." "I don't believe in superstition," Jack said. "Not black cats, not broken mirrors, none of it." It was chilly in the warehouse, warmer than outside, but still not warm. Casey decided to keep her jacket on. It was getting nippier at night, and her hands were cold. Soon she'd have to buy or steal some gloves. She shoved her hands in her jacket pockets for warmth. There were the glasses. Where was Ballora? Was Ballora about to catch her? Was that the 3rd piece of bad luck? Her heart pounded in panic, and she ran past Jack and AJ, out of the warehouse. Now the cold was the least of her worries. Outside, she put her head in her hands and paced back and forth. Finally, with a shaking hand, she reached into her pocket and took out the glasses. Because she couldn't help herself, she put them on. There, under a beam of the streetlight, only a few yards away, Ballora twirled. She was closer than she'd ever been before. Casey could see every joint in her body, each detail of her face, torso, and tutu. She was beautiful and horrible at the same time, and she was definitely getting closer. Casey tore the glasses off and shoved them back into her pocket. She sat on the cold, damp curb and tried to think. Each time she had seen Ballora, she had been a little closer. What was going to happen when Ballora was close enough to touch her? Could Ballora catch her? Casey felt like she was waiting for a punishment. She didn't know if it would be swift and sure, or long and torturous. She didn't want to know. And that's where we're ending for now. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, we're doing these stories in 2 parts, not 3 for this book, because it's a bit shorter. I'm kind of excited to see where this goes, but I'm also... I feel like I know. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.